Anyway, my name's Jeremy, and I'm 1/3 of the Ruiners crew. And with me, as always, is Ryan, who is another third of the Ruiners crew.
Hey, I'm Ryan. The movie we watched this week or today or whatever, obviously you already know, but it's the Clovehitch Killer.
Yeah.
That was released in, what is this, 2018?
The year
Directed
of our
by-
Lord.
Yes. That's relevant to the movie as well,
How so?
because they're religious.
Amen. Let's see.
Did you forget the movie?
2018, The Clovehitch Killer. Directed by Duncan Skiles, written by Christopher Ford. The Clovehitch Killer stars Dylan McDermott as Donald McDermott.
It stars Dylan McDermott. He plays Donald Sutherland. What's his name? Whatever. He's the killer. Get over it.
How about giving them a round of applause?
Oh yeah, he's the killer. Yeah, no sane person's doing that.
He plays BTK in this movie, basically. So I think we could probably get that out of the way.
If you're familiar at all with The Clovehitch Killer, oh my god. The Clovehitch Killer stars Dylan McDermott as Don Burnside.
He's the killer.
Yep. He's the killer, and if you're familiar at all with BTK, it's going to be pretty familiar right off the bat to you.
Well, the first time you see Dylan McDermott, you're going to go, he looks a lot like BTK.
I think it's just the goatee and the glasses.
Yeah.
Anybody who has a goatee and wears glasses, you may want to consider your look, because people
Yeah, you might want to pick one or the other.
maybe a monocle. I don't know.
The Clovehitch Killer also stars Charlie Plummer, who plays his son, whose name I don't remember in the movie.
Tyler.
Tyler, thank you. Tyler the Destroyer, that's right.
He kind of did ruin everything.
Well, he's the Destroyer. I'm kind of losing the plot on this. I don't know what else to...
Well, you could keep listing the actors.
Yeah, I could do that. Samantha Mathis, I don't know who that is. Who did she even play?
She's been in a lot of movies. She was in Broken Arrow, American Psycho,
She's the mom.
Daisy
Mario
in Mario
Brothers.
Brothers,
Hell yeah.
and also Madisen Beaty, who I haven't seen in anything at all. But apparently she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and The Master and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Is she related to Warren Beatty?
I want us all to be related to Warren Beatty.
I think much like Genghis Khan, we are.
Long ago, Warren Beatty rode the land.
Oh, yeah.
He ruled the plains with a steady arrow.
He cast his seed far and wide.
Yes, like the arc of the mighty bow. Okay, so obviously the big name here is Dylan McDermott. He's one of those guys that to me is always that guy that I see him and I'm like, hey, that's that guy. I think he has one of those faces that's just like standard actor guy face, almost kind of unassuming. You know you've seen him before, but he could be anybody type of guy.
Awkward talk with Dad. Over.
Well, I know I didn't watch the movie because I'm like, hell yeah, Dylan McDermott's in this.
Yeah, there are big Dylan McDermott heads out there. I don't know. Maybe there are. Maybe. Who knows? The point is, he's a pretty unassuming actor, and he probably plays unassuming characters. Like, he's the husband, he's the boyfriend guy. Really, he's the only name that I recognize for this movie, and he's like the top billed guy. And he kind of takes a back seat, at least up until the halfway point of the movie.
Why don't we talk about something else? This is pretty boring.
There's a small town, kind of like an insular Christian family. They're scouts.
Yeah, the very first shot of the movie is Dylan McDermott from behind. So you just see the back of his head, and he's talking to what appeared to be some sort of like Boy Scout troop. And immediately I was like, oh, there he is. He's the killer. And it's only from the back of his head.
Why? Anyone?
Is that the killer?
He's a scoutmaster, so I'm guessing yes.
Number 2. Here, stand up. Come here.
There's a bit of a bonding moment, or attempted bonding moment, between him and the son. And it's weird. The way he acts, it's almost like someone's attempt at what normal is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's that scene later on where they're at dinner and they kind of talk about, like, she had to ask him to get married and stuff. Their interplay seemed like it was pretty forced. If you're familiar at all with BTK, at least up until the halfway point of this movie, you're going to go, okay.
And there are some twists that happen. The son, he steals dad's car, and he goes on a parking lot date with a girl that he likes, and they kind of start macking on each other and stuff, and she finds...
Yeah, what is this, 1990?
Yeah, man.
Macking.
Yeah, macking. What do you want me to say? They start kissing on each other, and she happens to find a torn picture of a woman in bondage, and is immediately taken aback and is like, ew, gross, because she thinks it's his truck. How does she not understand that that's the kid's dad's truck?
It's kind of convenient.
Well, it's because the first third of the movie, where everyone thinks Tyler is a pervert, he goes out of his way to prove them wrong, and that's how he finds out the stuff about his dad, like, for real. Like, it feels like that's his motivation.
Maybe a little bit, but I think, to me, I just got the impression that he didn't want to believe that his dad could be even capable of being into this sort of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the through line for the whole movie, really. Just his denial of the truth. At every turn, it's abundantly obvious what's going on. But he just keeps pushing it, like pushing away all the evidence. And any tiny little thing that leads him to look somewhere else, or later on when Dylan McDermott explains to him, oh, it's not me who did it, it's actually your uncle.
Uncle Rudy.
Oh, yeah, Uncle Rudy, who conveniently can't talk anymore because he was in a car accident. And it kind of lets you understand the dynamic of the family and the way that the father, Dylan McDermott, he has this strange, like, hold over his entire family.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's never overt in a way that, like, makes him a scary person to them.
Yeah,
but it's an atmosphere of order where you have to assume that at some point he has demonstrated that he's willing to do what he has to do to maintain a certain kind of order.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes him scarier. When he finally breaks into someone's house and... Well, the way he immediately gains control.
Lying about being a bank robber. Yeah, like, it's all stuff, like, isn't it redundant by now? Like, we've already said twice that he's playing BTK.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And a lot of his mannerisms are very BTK-like.
Yeah.
The story is almost lifted whole cloth from the things that BTK would do.
Yeah, but it's not really... Like, if you're sitting here watching the Clovehitch Killer from the get-go and, like, following the beats beat for beat because you're a true crime aficionado, or you're just familiar with these sorts of serial killer type of movies, at least I know I was. I talked myself into a state where I was hoping for them to do something that was going to throw me, because if they didn't, this movie would have just ended up being a well-produced procedural type serial killer drama. Again, you said twists earlier. It's not, it's not some big crazy thing, but it's definitely, there are definitely surprises that are satisfying. That elevates it above the standard movie of this sort.
My dad was BTK. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's cool. That's nice. It's not as stupid as you thought.
I did not expect that at
Yeah.
all.
All right.
What would it be? The like the last third of the movie is essentially the twist.
I mean, there are a couple of things.
Look, I know that you love being obsessed with Clovehitch because it makes you all dark and interesting, but really, this is my family.
He killed my mom.
Oh shit.
Whoa. The girl whose name I can't remember, Cassie. There's something about her character that just doesn't seem right.
How many knots do you know?
My favorite's the Clovehitch. Maybe that dinner scene was cut down and they had a bit more interaction. Because I think that's the only thing that I think could explain her not thinking it's him. Because he'd have to be, charming and just some like milquetoast.
No,
like,
he didn't.
fucking
He
lame
didn't
dad
do
guy.
anything that threw her off the scent, though, that we saw. She asked him a direct question about knots and whittling, and he's like, "Yep, totally into it."
Yes.
I love whittling and knots. You got me.
Yeah. Makes her look super suspicious of him. And then in the very next
They
scene.
call me Donnie
when
Knots.
she's get.
Go ahead.
And when. Well, and in the very next scene, when he's giving her a ride home, she laughs at him and is like, no, it's not him. He, that's the,
Sure.
It's the incongruity of her character that was weird there. Like, I feel like we're missing something.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so they're following him around, and Tyler is still trying to deny it.
He and Cassie doing the Hardy Boys teen detective stuff. And then they have the confrontation with the gun. And then Tyler does the stupidest thing you could possibly think of. After his dad, by the way, just knocks out Cassie as she's trying to get his gun away from him.
But first,
Oh, it hurts.
Why would he ever do this?
It fucking hurts, man. And then that's when Dylan McDermott points the rifle at him.
Now, I said that it was like a thing that they planned to do or that Tyler planned to do as a test. You didn't think so. You thought that Tyler didn't know
No.
that there was no bullet in the rifle. But the way he he's not frightened. He doesn't really say anything. He kind of just stands there and he waits for the gun to click.
I think that's just his character.
Believable.
Like, incapable of doing anything.
He gets the better of Tyler and he's like one hand choking
He's
him.
choking the shit out of him.
Cassie wakes back up from getting knocked out. She takes a lamp, clocks Dylan McRader on the back of the head a couple of times, knocks him out.
Like a killing blow kind of thing. Like they got
I don't even believe he'd be knocked out from that, but whatever. At this point, the biggest problem I have with it is that they could have set it up a lot cleaner to basically have the authorities there.
Call the police. Do it slower.
But knowing Tyler's devotion to his family reputation, see the whole reason why Tyler doesn't seem to do a lot of things from the very beginning is because he's concerned with, I guess that's kind of unfair for me to say that he's worried about his family's reputation. It's more than that. I think he doesn't want to hurt his family by having the world know who his dad is.
Yeah, just burn all the evidence. That's fine. It's a fucking terrible idea. But Tyler is willing to do that just to put shit in the past so no one knows anything and the family can just keep going. Because that's a thing that Dylan McDermott keeps bringing up. That's like a constant thread throughout like the whole movie. Remember that scene? You're talking about how knots represent a family, where like the rope, whatever, and then like and the knot is the protecting.
It's the tie that binds.
Yeah, basically.
Ugh.
The knot bends them to a common purpose.
Symbolism.
They kind of hit you over the head with that. So basically, cut to the end. Tyler's given like a little eulogy thing about his dad. And now they're intercutting between what actually happened to Dylan McRader. They set up a campsite to make it look like he was camping, started a fire. Tyler got to use his cool
Body transportation merit badge.
Yeah.
The ending of the movie is Tyler pointing the gun at his dad's face, and the last lines of his eulogy, which are something like, hey, Dad, can you hear me? I love you, which is what he says right before he more than likely shoots his dad. Up to that point, I was still hoping that they were like going to give him an ultimatum where he either turns himself in or shoots himself, and then he elects to shoot himself. I think that would have been a better ending.
Well, I like the way it ended, I guess. But if it ended with your given the options, there's no way they're going to give him the gun so he can shoot himself.
I mean, if they've already got a gun on him, why not?
But that's ridiculous. He already was going to shoot him. Like, you know what I mean? Dylan McRader was already going to shoot his own kid with the rifle.
No, like ideally what I would have is I would have Cassie holding the loaded rifle. You show Tyler putting one bullet into the snub-nosed revolver and, you know, holding it out to his dad and giving him this ultimatum.
Yeah, you pick. Oh, and then the end could have been Dylan McRader points the gun at his son.
Maybe.
And then Cassie shoots him.
It's a possibility.
And she's like, oh man, I can't believe I had to do that. And she freaks out and is shaking and stuff and like looks at her hands.
It's the fucking coolest thing I've ever done. I like knots all of a sudden.
And then she looks over at Tyler and he's lying on the ground because he got the shot off. So they're both dead.
Sure. All of these are like way more dramatic endings than what we got.
But I was just going to say real quick, the real ending I would have liked if everything in the movie is exactly the same. But when they're pointing the gun at him, I kind of wish Dylan McRader just like whispered, do it. Or something like that. Like whispered something under his breath, like just something. Instead of just looking at him like, anything. Like if he said, I love you, when Tyler's pointing the gun in his face, and then his eulogy is, Dad, wherever you are, if you can hear me, I love you. If it cut back to Tyler pointing the gun in Dylan McRader's face, and then Dylan McRader whispered, I love you back.
I don't know. That's
like,
maybe
right
a little
after,
too.
And then cut to hard cut to black.
It just doesn't sound like something he would say.
Come on.
Unless he was just trying to not die. Because, I mean, he clearly didn't love anybody.
Yeah, that's exact. He should have been, yeah, but he should have been the same guy he always was. So you know when he says that and he doesn't mean it. So you know he'd never change.
I just don't want another excuse to think Tyler's a dumb wiener.
You slut!
Oh, I love you! I love you so much!
Get off of me!
Hey! Stop!
No, but that's why he shoots him. And then also it would end ambiguously because maybe they let him go.
I don't know about that.
And he died a different way. Ooh, who knows?
What do you think about how the movie looked? To me, it looked very much like a produced for Netflix kind of movie, you know, where you could tell it wasn't a huge budget and they weren't doing anything like crazy, but it wasn't bad. It's good enough. There are a few striking kind of moments in the movie, and one of them is again what you brought up about the poster, the scene where he's in his killer outfit, I guess, if you want to call it that, right?
His gear.
His murder garb. Yeah, and that's a pretty striking image there of him sort of watching this lady sleep on the couch.
Yeah, that's a great shot. It's like quite voyeuristic. You know, like you're there in the other room.
Yeah, I've said intimate before too, not just because it's, you know, this story of this insular family, but also because a lot of these shots, they're blocked in. Like that particular shot, you know, you're standing in a doorway, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing is
Yeah.
framed by the doorway itself. It felt like there were a lot of shots like that.
There's another shot earlier on when Tyler starts thinking that there's something wrong with his dad, like he's got to be the guy, where they're doing some sort of food drive thing and he's unpacking a box.
He's behind the serving area or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, and the camera's dollying in on him, and he's just getting a kind of. I get his face doesn't really change like the whole movie. He just kind of.
It's his world is closing in on him, kind of thing.
But like his face, he's not really. But he's just looking at his dad, just being cool with a kid, and he's like, this fucking guy, man. I don't know.
There's like a dinner. It's that dinner scene where they're all having that nice steamed rice and vegetable. No, it's later on where they're having the spaghetti. Like he does a lot of these like shots where the camera just kind of pulls in on the subject and like center frame. Later on, whenever, you know, you get the idea that Dylan McRader is thinking about the murder he's going to commit later on, and he's just sort of going about his day as a scoutmaster.
Yeah, there is a lot of slow dollies. There's a lot, actually. Slow dollies of just, center frame.
It gave me the impression of what's his face? The Dr. Sleep director. Kubrick Light.
Like Kubrick on a budget. Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, Flanagan.
Flanagan. There's not a lot of dynamic movement with the camera, like at all. It's all slow and relatively methodical.
A lot of voyeuristic stuff as they're staking him out, watching him stalk this woman in the parking lot.
Yeah, POV stuff.
Tyler hiding under the bed.
Say cheese and crackers.
Just the idea of him seeing his dad's wig for the first time.
That's fucking, yeah.
The
The scene when he's finally in all his gear and he breaks into the woman's house and he's watching her sleep. It's just like the TV commercials. And that, to me, if there was music there, it would feel very standard. But the fact there's no music, it's just like the sounds of the TV. I think it makes it creepier. Like, dude, that could happen to you.
Stuff like that's good. Like it just shows like the part where he's just talking to the cop, trying to be all buddy. Obviously, he just pulls up at a gas station or something, and the cop is there, and he's very interested in talking to the cop about guns, and the cop behaves as if this isn't a thing that, like, they're not buddies.
Oh yeah, very
know?
distant to him.
Maybe even the cop is maybe even like put off. Maybe he just thinks he's one of those cop groupies, or maybe thinks he might be something more. You don't know. Either way, they're not pals.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
But it's all stuff like that that makes it feel more real. After the first part of the movie, I enjoyed it a lot more. And it's not just because of the twist it takes, but it also does seem to treat itself a little differently than it does at the first part, where they do almost kind of try to do this like tense murder mystery type of thing. And they've got the music and it feels way more movie-ish during the first half.
Yeah, definitely. The second half feels more, maybe not like a documentary, but it definitely feels more alive.
I thought Dylan Dormand did a good Dylan. He did a good McDermott.
He was a good Dylan in the movie. He's good.
He's all right. I mean, I think other people could have did. Oh shit! Whenever we watched The Stepfather a few weeks ago, the original Stepfather, Terry O'Quinn, I think he could have been an amazing BTK type character, or just in a biopic. I think he could straight up be Dennis Rader easy.
Daddy's little angel. Why don't they just leave me alone?
I wouldn't put Dylan McDermott on his level for this type of a character, but it was all competent. Everything, that's the word I'll use for it. All around competent.
I would go higher than competent.
Oh, you really liked him here?
I think he did a great job.
I think the writing was good.
That's very helpful for, I don't know. I believed him when he does his little speeches, and they're awkward, so they're almost like adorkable, like his little sex speech.
Yeah, he's corny dad. He's corny
I think
dad.
He's great at that, but it's also has this little edge to it.
We only get that one over the top moment where he's throwing a temper tantrum on the bed. And not that I'm asking for something like really stupid and over the top, but one of the complaints that we did both have was that you don't really see a lot of just how far he's gone to maintain that control over his family.
Do you think he's the killer? I can't imagine the kind of twist they would need for it to be not him.
Like, is it a thing where he's never had to show a violent side of himself to anybody in his family ever? But I also feel like, how do you maintain
that level of sociopathy?
I'm just throwing this out there. This is, at the very least, this is definitely a family that used corporal punishment, right? Spare the rod and spoil the child.
I don't think so.
I don't think he had to do it a lot, but I want to say it was probably a thing that was done early.
I still don't think so.
Really?
The only thing that he does outside of when he's being crazy, doing the BTK shit, is he like flips a pancake and he's like not good at it and like does it too fast. But other than that, he seems to be relatively level-headed about everything. And it doesn't seem like...
There's a point in the very beginning, he puts Tyler in a full Nelson, and it seems like this is a type of thing that he's done before, and
Tyler's tired of it.
Not in a playing way, but in a way that he's definitely trying to show dominance. They almost have a bigger brother, younger brother type of dynamic in that way.
Okay, yeah.
Where he's almost looking at Tyler as competition, and he wants to maintain, we both know that I'm the guy in charge, right? It was a very John Wayne Gacy type of thing,
That's
say
true.
uncle.
Yeah, now that you mentioned I forgot about the full Nelson thing, but yeah, it's very, haha, I'm playing, but really, I'm bigger than you, and you're going to do what I want. But it's also like playful enough to where, since it's happening at the beginning of the movie, you kind of feel like there's a problem with the dynamic between father and son.
Yeah.
Where son is just put off, but the dad is playful and wants to like get along and be cool.
It could just be me wanting to believe, like, for a guy to just explode in rage, like how there were no moments in his daily life where, it didn't come out in some way. You got the sex talk in the shed.
Oh yeah, that bit with the hammer is amazing.
I don't know. Grabbing one of these tools in here and what?
Jeez. The part with the hammer that I'll say that I think is like part of the overall drive of the movie is the reason behind Dylan McRader picking up the hammer in the first place is explaining that like there are things that you imagine in your head that are fantasy, they're not real, so it's okay. And God doesn't care about your fantasies. So he's making an excuse for the shit that he already knows Tyler knows about. Oh, he knows about my like weird dungeon room in the crawl space. He knows about those magazines. Like he knows all the shit. And he's like convincing him, "Oh, that's fine because God doesn't care if you just like think about stuff." Because later Tyler is explaining to Cassie that, "Oh, it can't be my dad because it's just fantasy stuff. It's not real. So it's fine." So it's just another layer of his being brainwashed by his dad to just, what he says is just how things work. We're supposed to think, what the fuck is wrong with you, Tyler, the whole time?
Probably. I would hope.
Yeah, I would hope so too, because otherwise, if the writer or the director, if I heard them say, yeah, you weren't supposed to know for like the first 45 minutes if it was him or not, I don't buy that.
I'm dead.
Oh my God.
It's scary as fuck. So you don't buy the movie. All right.
No, it was free. I watched it for free.
Would you recommend the Clovehitch Killer to people?
Yes, I would recommend it. Possibly with a caveat or two.
If you like serial killer crime drama type stuff, then you're probably going to like it. I think it does just enough to where even if you're kind of a seasoned watcher of this type of shit, you'll be pleasantly surprised. So I probably tell people it's a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, my only caveat is it almost feels wrong knowing that it's essentially just BTK and the part...
A little lazy.
Yeah, I mean, a bit lazy, but it kind of feels wrong to like the movie because it's based on some guy in a way. That might seem...
Why would you? Unless you're some sort of Dennis Rader fan.
No, I don't mean like that. I don't mean like in a positive way. Like, oh, I don't like it because I like Dennis Rader and what he did is fine. Don't isolate that audio.
I like Dennis Rader and what he did is fine.
Say cheese and crackers.
Cheese and crackers.
You're too late. Now I have to redo it.
Wait to see how it turns out. You want to blow on it?
Gotta go.
That's not how it works. But what I mean is, like, a real guy did all this stuff, and it's like, man, and this kid is so dumb. I wouldn't be that dumb. Like, I wouldn't have let him, get away with this shit. And it just, I don't know, it's kind of depressing.
No, I don't know. I mean, you asked me right at the beginning of the movie. Like, that was the first question you asked. Like, if your dad was doing this, would you call the cops immediately? And that was the conflict for me, trying to put myself in Tyler's shoes and, like, how exactly would I go about doing this? Like, I never felt, at least in those early stages, that Tyler was, like, being dumb. It was after the halfway point where there was
there's no going back.
No reasonable doubt. Yeah.
I get that.
That he should have taken steps a lot differently and earlier.
I think it would be good to watch the movie and decide for yourself at what point do you realize, if you were Tyler, at what point do you realize, all right, I'm calling the cops?
Whenever you ask me that question right at the beginning of the movie, did you ask me because you definitely would have?
Oh, you mean when he finds those bondage magazines in the picture?
I think maybe you asked me around the time where they were having the talk in the woodshed. This is after he already did, after finding the picture, he did the internet search.
Oh, yeah.
Would you tell the cops? And I said, I don't know. I think I'd have to think about it. Maybe I'd tell my mom, and then we'd sort of decide what to do. Then again, I don't know, dude, because I'd be afraid of, like, her confronting him on it, and then, like, well...
And then he kills her.
He's gonna fucking he's going to start over with a new family somewhere, you know?
I kind of feel like the point for me where it's out of my hands and whether he's the guy or not, the cops need to know, is when he finds the shit in the crawl space thing with all the driver's licenses.
Yeah.
It's like he clearly did something. Don't know.
Yeah, you don't burn that evidence.
No, there's no fucking way. It's like immediate. I'm calling the cops or going to the cops, and I'm going to be like, you have to see all the shit that's in my basement.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, right? Hey, guys.
You guys like knots, right?
They fucking, all cops love knots. Is that wrong? I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, I imagine cops are big into restraints.
Possibly. Now what? Do we wrap it up somehow?
So, I want to give it a rating. I say we do a rating. So we're both recommend. I would also, if we're gonna go by our traditional rating system, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, I'm leaning 4 out of 5 as well. Part of me wants to go 3.5.
Just say whatever you want. These numbers don't mean shit. It's just some loose metric.
All right, 3 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5.
All right.
Final answer.
I guess if I had any parting words at all, I would just say that if your dad's a scout leader, you need to be searching all of his drawers. You need to be crawling into your crawl space. Really just, if you have parents and you live with them, you should suspect them of all things and really get in their business.
Yeah, no stone left unturned.
That's what they do to you, you know? That's what it... You're all watching each other's back. For the greater good.
For the greater good.
Go to WeRuinMovies.com. Check out all our shit. Say hi. We're on Twitter at WeRuinMovies. It's great. You should go there. We say things. It's fun. Have a good time.